In the last episode, I upgraded the front tire on my bike to a slightly larger size. In this video, I'm going to show you how to modify the front fender to clear a larger tire. Stay tuned. Alright, so since I slightly upgraded this tire size, it's slightly wider and taller, I just want to check the clearances. She clears, but I worry that if any rocks or chips or anything got in there, we might have an issue. So based off forums and to err on the side of caution, I decided to modify the fender for a little extra clearance. So the fender is held on by 4 bolts on the inside. They're held on basically by a bracket, and then the plastic fender is riveted on to that bracket. There's a clip that's holding on the brake line, just pops off, and one for the speedometer cable as well. This guy should slide right off. Alright, there you go. And you can see underneath there, might have to weld a little piece on there, on both sides, to get it down a little further. And I'll just drill out these rivets to get these out. So I put it back on here, non-bolted, and I decided that I should just create new holes in the plastic and weld on pieces that go one full hole size down. And so if I do that, you know, I can fit my hands underneath the clearance on both sides, which kind of fits, you know, this bike. I kind of like the close tucked look a little bit better, but this way no gravel or larger items will be able to get caught in the fender and cause a potential issue. Alright, so I've got the drill size pre-selected. Hopefully it is about the size of the shank of these rivets. I'm going to go ahead and drill them out. Be careful not to hit the plastic. Use a little piece of cardboard to pry up on so they don't scratch anything up. Alright. Now we'll do that 3 more times and we'll be done. Well, that worked. Hit it with the big drill bit, then came back with the little one. Here I drilled out the remaining rivet bits. How do you like that? The bigger drill bit was 1.55 inches, smaller one 1.4 inches. Let me see if I can find some metal matches this. This is about .080. Here's some scrap pieces. Yeah, this will work nicely. Here I'm marking out my extension pieces and making a contour to match the ends of the bracket. Making contours like this with a grinder can be really tedious and dangerous if you put a side load on the cutting discs. Cutting discs are made to plunge straight in, whereas grinders can hit stuff at an angle. But if you're patient, you can do a lot of stuff with a grinder. It's pretty good. Make sure your bracket extensions are even. Looks like I shot for 1 1/16 here. Now it's time to start welding stuff up. I try to be careful here not to put too much heat in one spot. I spread my tacks evenly and made several passes. When working with thin metal like this, you really have to be careful not to put too much heat in concentrated areas, because these types of parts can warp really easily. I cleaned up my welds and removed the sharp corners on the bracket. Here I measured out the size of the hole and the distance I wanted to move the fender up. I matched the holes in the fender and I moved them up 3/4 of an inch. What I'm going to do is make these holes small and then kind of wall them out to where they need to go. Doing it this way allows me to fine-tune the fitment as I go. First I drilled smaller holes that I could finesse with a burr tool. Then I could come back with a bigger drill bit and the holes would be in the correct spot. So that one's pretty good. This one needs to move over a little bit. Alright, that looks good now. Also giving me the opportunity to use this cute little vice grip I have. Next I cleaned up the slag so I could test fit the bracket and mark up where I needed to make the mounting holes in the plastic. To locate the bracket, I inserted rivets into the factory bracket holes without actually popping them because it would have been very difficult to get them out. I tried to drill the holes, but even with a 90-degree drill, it proved to be a very difficult task. So I opted to use my burr tool and die grinder. After a bit of grinding, I test fit the bracket, checked where I needed to add a little bit more clearance, and then finished up the part. Alright, so what I'm going to do is use these little tiny zip ties to temporarily hold on the bracket. Awesome. Of course, I will actually rivet these after the test fit, but for this purposes, to make sure everything is on there correctly. once everything's mocked up, you can check your clearance and make sure you're happy with the new bracket location. Alright, so I got this piece right here, I'll paint it up. And I also got all aluminum rivets to attach it. Let's slide this guy in here. Slide it in that way. Okay, yeah. So this is a 5/32 diamond rivet. You can see it doesn't have a lot of play in there. Fits pretty snug, and it's for 3/16 engagement, and it doesn't go very far through there. Once I compress that, it'll have even less, very little protruding out there. So I think those are going to work out perfect for these two. And since they're aluminum, they won't rust. The other choice would be stainless, but I think that might be a little harsh on this plastic, so I chose aluminum. If you've never used rivets before, these little pop rivet guts are super cheap. You get at Harbor Freight for, I think, $10 or something, and then they come with a bunch of rivets. So I'm a little bit worried about this plastic, so I'm not going to over tighten these guys. Normally when installing pop rivets, you pull the shank all the way out with the rivet tool, but in this case I didn't want to over tighten, so I just pulled until they were pretty tight and then pulled the rivet tool away from the rivet. It can be a little bit tricky to pull the shank off of the pop rivet tool, but doing it this way I was able to tighten the rivets to the pressure I was comfortable with and then come back with the pliers to snip off the shanks. The other cool thing about this mod, the way I did it, extended it down, is that you know, I can always go back to stock height because I have the two sets of holes, so I can go upward, back down. It's pretty cool. File off any sharp bits. Alright, so there she is. Now I'll go ahead and fit it up. Okay, so it looks like it needs a little finessing. So I'm gonna make marks on where the holes need to shift a little bit. Kind of has a spot that it fits into. So I'm not worried about it kind of shifting. I just need to tweak some holes. I got one hole to go in there, you know, really nicely. And the other ones I just need to work them to make them, you know, fit a little bit better. But it should just take a little bit of grinding and it'll be good to go. It's good to know that you don't have to be super precise with this, just because of the way this this piece fits in between the forks. It kind of self-aligns on you, so that's not a huge concern. Once you get the holes aligned, that's pretty much the end of the project. At this point, it's just about reinstalling the fender and remounting the wheel and checking to make sure you're okay with the clearance. I really recommend using the burr tool here to finesse these holes. Without a tool like this, it's really difficult to kind of enlarging one edge of a hole. An air compressor and a die grinder also really speed up the process, but if you have a drill, that works too. It just takes a little more time. If you want help reinstalling the wheel, you can check out my video on changing the tires. For that video, there's a link in the description. If you like this video and want to see more, please make sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. As always, thanks for watching.